Hey, what's up, everyone? We are Jcub3d. My name is Jason.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Jesse.
That is our special guest today. I'm actually really excited about this episode. As you might have noticed, we're one man down that is usually on this podcast. Our big buddy, our friend, our artist, John. Don't know what happened to him. I was eating dinner a couple nights ago and I noticed some flickering of some lights. I was like, oh, it's not raining outside. So went on with the rest of my day or rest of my evening before I went to sleep. The flickering was still there. I started looking at it and it started strobing in SOS. Apparently, John is stuck in the upside down. I hope he's okay. Haven't heard from him in a couple days, but hopefully everything is fine. So we reached out to our good friend Wesley. We have known him, or I've known him since high school. Jared, I think you've known him a little bit longer than that. Little fun fact, Wes here is the one that really got me into movies. Like, I remember talking back in high school, and he was the really one that drove that appreciation for myself. So this is a super honor to have you, Wes, on the podcast. I'm so excited and so stoked to talk Star Wars with you. So this is really, really cool. But as you know, with Jcub3d, before we really do anything, we see what everyone's been up to. So Jared, what you been up to, my man?
Same old, living life. Work's been busy lately. Haven't been really outside of the Obi Wan that we're about to get into. Haven't been watching too much of interest. Haven't been reading too many comics lately, although being in the Star Wars mindset, I didn't know this originally, but I saw that there's a little Fallen Order comic line, and
Really?
I kind of want to check that out. Yeah, I had seen that with Cal, so I want to read that. I think that would be really interesting, just because I'm kind of with Obi Wan. I've just been in a total Star Wars mood. Video game wise, a couple weeks ago on our last podcast, I said I'd gotten back into Pokemon Legends Arceus, so I was really into that for a while, and then I shifted gears back to Pokemon
I thought you were gonna say wow. So that's
Diamond.
okay.
No, I've been playing Pokemon Diamond, the
Okay.
Shining Diamond, and I don't know, I've just been like really into those. But as I mentioned last podcast, I'm coming up on my birthday gift from Ashley. I get my Steam Deck here soon, and I'm gonna jump on that. I don't know what I want to play, honestly. I
Fancy
kind of,
man.
as I had mentioned last time, I had wanted to jump back into those Batman games, but then I kind of want to, after being in this whole Star Wars kick, I kind of want to get back into Fallen Order, especially because they announced the
Dude.
sequel. I kind of want to jump back into the Old Republic just because that's kind of an opportunity to me, being such a big gamer fan, is to have my own character and really dive into the Star Wars universe as
Mm-hmm.
a character that I created, an original. So I don't really know what game I'm going to get into first when I get open the Steam Deck. There's so many possibilities. There's still the World of Warcraft possibility. I know
No,
how
don't
much you
go.
dislike that one,
Don't
Jason,
do
but
it.
that one always sucks me back in. But there's
No.
just so many video games that I want to jump on right now. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Nice, man. No, that's don't go back into WoW. That sucked
Always
in
gonna go back
so
at
much
some
of our
point.
time
Sooner or
after
later,
high
I'm gonna always
school.
go back.
Don't do it.
He's like
Just stay
Al
away.
Pacino, right? Every time he
Yeah,
gets away, they're pulling back in.
pull me
Just
back in.
put me right back. Um, don't do it, Jared. I,
I'm gonna do
I
it.
I believe in you. I think you'll make the right decisions.
I
But
will to go back in.
but Wes,
Well,
you are.
yes. Hey,
I guess think about it now. You're our special guest. You probably should have gone first, but
But we
Wes,
don't
no,
have manners here.
yeah, we don't have
no,
manners
it's all
here.
good.
What you up
Yeah,
to?
it's all good.
What you up to, dude?
Man, just a lot of life. As you guys sometimes summarize it, I'm adulting pretty hard now. I got a wedding coming up here in, let's see, today's the third, 15 days. Yeah, 15 days.
Yay! Oh man, so exciting.
Yeah, yeah, it's been quite the road. So I'm thrilled about that, excited about it. a lot of emotions with that. Trying to wrap up work, get everything to a tight end in a transition period as far as career, like leaving one field, starting another field, which has some parallels for me with Obi Wan. Like, and we'll talk about that later. But as far as gaming, haven't really had time. I did wrap up because you guys inspired me. I ended up getting Port of Owls, read that, loved it, freaking loved it. I'm only volume 1, so I got to get the other ones. And decided to finally play Horizon Zero Dawn, which I had been reluctant about until y'all like reviewed it so positively. I freaking love the game.
Yeah,
I got sucked into that
nice,
so hard.
I just smashed through it. Then I started playing Frozen Wilds. Played that too, and I mean like 98% completions, which.
Oh no.
We lost you.
Oh no, Wes, we lost your audio.
Wes, can you hear us?
Yes, so I apologize. Hansel just called and interrupted my audio. So we can totally blame him. He's the worst.
Gosh damn it, Hansel.
I mean, we have his number. I should text him.
You could fill the back of 10 trucks with how much Hansel sucks. Anyway, no, I love this. Love the guy. Anyway, yeah, so I played Frozen Wilds, loved it, played through it. It was amazing. I got into the lore. Like, it kind of gave me, Jared, I know you're like Turok vibes.
Oh, I love Turok.
Kind of like, you know what I mean? It was. I love the fusion of like wild and technology, and it was just great. I'm a huge fan. So
yeah,
thanks y'all for encouraging me to play.
Nice, man. Man, I had to get back into that game. The first episode we did, I think we talked about Horizon, right? Or at least I did.
Yeah, we did, like in the very beginning.
Yeah,
and I know maybe in the completionist that I am, I was all in it, and I got sucked into the whole just game as in itself. I think it kind of, for you, pushed you a little bit the other way on it. Yeah,
it did, but I have been... So my thought, I think, has changed a little bit on that. And I'll just, this kind of segues into what I've been doing. So what I've been up to recently, a few different things. A couple life things, a couple exciting things that are going to be happening for me. The first one is my new PC came in yesterday. So after this podcast is done, I've already started trying to transfer files from my PC onto a hard drive so I can get all of that updated to the new PC. I'm just worried that my Premiere, I have Premiere Pro Suite that is from 2012. When my mom was getting her master's at UTSA, she bought me that as a Christmas gift, and with a student ID that she had, and I am worried that when I move it over to the new PC, that all of that stuff is no longer going to work because that student ID, whatever code, is no longer going to be active. I don't know if that's how it works, but that is what I'm really freaking out about right now. But with that, there's some kind of, ease on that as well, because I have also, and I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I've been wanting to go back to school for production, certification, and I've actually registered for my first class, and that starts in August, the kind of last week of August. And with that, because I'm now a student again, I get, I think, a lower cost for the newer updated Adobe CC app, or not app, but just, the online version that is those kind of monthly payments, which I think is really stupid, but that's just me. I mean, you buy it once. Why do I have to buy it? Why do I have to pay? Never mind. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a subscription.
Yeah,
at
the
this
subscription.
Point, not an app.
I did that for a little bit. It was like $40 a month. And I did for a trial for a different position. I ended up not getting with another company. But trying to cancel that Adobe subscription was such a pain in the butt. I don't even think I couldn't just cancel. I had to pay to cancel the subscription.
Do you have the entire Creative Suite? Do you have the entire Creative Suite?
I did not have the entire. I think I just had Premiere and some other like Photoshop and stuff for a little bit, but it wouldn't just let me cancel that. I had to pay like an early termination fee or something. Like, it was really stupid. But so other than that, I'm super excited to have a PC that is not 10 years old. So that is exciting. Video games wise, I've been playing a crap ton of Cyberpunk recently. Like, I transitioned from doing Elden Ring to doing Cyberpunk, and I need to finish Elden Ring because I have 100+ hours in that game. But Cyberpunk is now slowly, like, after work, it's like, maybe I can do just a couple NCPD quests in Cyberpunk, and that turns into like 4 hours of me just exploring Night City or what have you. I am really, really enjoying the game. When it first came out, we were really excited about it because Witcher 3, Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red, that is a fantastic developer, but all the stuff that was wrong with it really kind of tanked our expectations for the game and wanting to play it. But I bought it, maybe a couple months ago. It was like $25-$30 on PlayStation Network, and I was like, it's $30. It's on sale. Why not? It's going to get better eventually. And it has been such a blast so far. Like, I'm really, really digging Cyberpunk. Other than that, recently finished or binge watched all of Stranger Things Part 1. So I don't know if y'all have, Jared, no. I know we were texting.
You already know.
We were texting, so you need to catch up.
I'm a couple years behind.
Dude, this 4th season so far has been right below season 1 for me. I think it is the second best season they have done so far. Each episode is a movie-length episode, and it is insane. Wes, I see you. Are you biting your lip on something?
Yeah, I'm champing at the bit, as they say, to talk about this. Stranger Things, man. I was even going to ask y'all, I was like, are we going to do an Obi Wan Stranger Things mashup episode? But anyway. I didn't rank it. I was in my head. I was like, this is so freaking good. It hits every note that I wanted to. Every new character is great off the bat. Like me, Max and her brother. Gosh, I'm sorry for forgetting his name. Max and her brother. Right. Last season took some warming, like getting used to, and same thing in season 2. Some characters that were introduced, I was like, okay, let me see. But this one, everybody, like right away, I love them. They're great additions. Yeah. And even characters that we already liked are still maintaining what we liked about them. And the introduction of this new villain, the horror elements, they took it up a notch. And I gotta agree with you. Like, this might be it's as good as season 1. Like it's right there. It's so good, dude.
Jared, you need to get on it. It's like, it is Netflix's. Oh, go ahead, Wes. Sorry.
No, there's never been this many characters. Like, with all the ones that all previous seasons and the new ones they're introducing, and everyone's just so well handled. It's amazing. I love it.
I feel like this is Netflix's version, or kind of in your face to HBO's Game of Thrones. Like, that is kind of how I feel Stranger Things is to Netflix. And that is where their budget came from, and why they got rid of a lot of stuff. This budget is insane for what they're doing so far. And we still have, I think, 2 more episodes. Wes, if you're not aware, those come out next month. The first one is an hour and a half. The last episode is 2.5 hours.
Oh boy. It's so good. The cinematography, everything. It's just so, the music cues,
that's so good.
Yeah. And we might, like, hopefully in those next 2 episodes we'll see John, because he's been in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
So
maybe he'll make an appearance.
He's just gonna be like in the corner running. He's like, guys.
He might be there hanging out with that.
But Jared, you need to get on it. I'm joking. You
tell my wife.
I think you would really, really dig. The seasons have, highs and lows, but this season has been, it's just the roller coaster going up. But yeah, so I am super excited to be here because we are talking about the unspeakable, the one thing we never said we would talk about again. We are talking about Star Wars. We're not talking about just any Star Wars. We are talking about the first 3 episodes of Star Wars Obi Wan Kenobi. I have some thoughts. I have some questions. I have some thoughts to go with those questions. But yeah, with that, let's just jump right into it, y'all. So I think how we'll kind of do this, or how I'm envisioning we do this, is we just kind of freeform it, right? I have a few just kind of general questions that I think are good segues into, y'all's thoughts. But yeah, I've been, I was super excited to see this after watching a couple of trailers we have seen. That first trailer they did with the Duel of Fates sound, oh my gosh, that is like, I wish we could have done that on stream, or not stream, on the podcast live, Jared, because I remember texting, like a
live reveal type thing.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was the group text with all of us. But that just sold me on it. But with that, Jared, what are your thoughts on the show so far?
I love it. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoy the show, and Star Wars, it has its ups and it has its downs as a whole. But I honestly love the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know many other just fictional universes that compare to it. So I always have a sense of excitement when something new Star Wars related comes out, and maybe it's, sometimes it's almost like we're glutton for punishment with it, but I always just get excited when something new Star Wars comes out, just because I love the universe as a whole. I'm always excited to be able to dive back into it.
Mm-hmm.
The show I don't really know what direction I was expecting for it to take. I did not anticipate the direction that it has gone right now, but I have really enjoyed the show as a whole so far. I just love seeing Ewan McGregor back. I think he just does such a phenomenal job. I think the actress that they have for young Leia is just amazing. Amazing casting. I just love her banter and her personality.
She's really great.
Love seeing Inquisitors on screen. Is it a perfect 10 out of 10 at this point? No, but it's pretty damn close for me. I'm having a lot of fun with the show so far, halfway through. I am.
Nice, yeah. How about yourself, Wes?
Joe Wesley? I change it every time. So here's the deal. I am the self-proclaimed Clint Eastwood of Star Wars, right? Like, I don't want these kids on my lawn. So I have just such a very, okay, long story short, when we were kids, we got the action figures. You had to read about the stuff on the back, and we had to fill in the blanks on our own, right? You had to read about Mandalorian. You had to read about the Clone Wars, and you had to kind of figure out what these things were and imagine. And then the extended universe, all we got were covers to books, right? So every alien in there, every spaceship, you didn't have the internet when you were 7 or 8. You couldn't just Google, oh, that's what a Corellian fighter looks like. So we had to create a lot of stuff. So now at this age, I have a very defined idea of what Star Wars is for me. So anytime something new Star Wars comes out, it's like watching somebody else play with your action figures.
Mm-hmm.
You want to constantly be like, no, that one doesn't do that. Like, that's Boba Fett. He doesn't make sandwiches in the kitchen, So I'm very nitpicky. So I have to say, the second time I rewatched this to take notes for this episode, I ended up liking it a lot more. I had a front and back sheet of pros and my cons list, which I thought was going to be all cons. I thought I was going to come in here and be a Sith Lord, but I ended up I'm liking the positives. There's a lot of positives. There's a few cons, like you said, it's not a perfect, but overall I am enjoying it. Took a second time, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think I am in the same boat. Again, as I was saying, that first trailer really sold me on the show itself, just because I think Duel of Fates is probably one of the more iconic songs that has come out of Star Wars, and something, John Williams, that is like one of his, everything John Williams does is amazing, but I think that is like one of his more top tier things that he has created. And it's just so iconic with Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. And it's just such a, a pump up, like, oh, something's about to go down kind of song. And then that first episode hits, and Obi-Wan is just so timid, so kind of, he's becoming that recluse that we see in A New Hope, right?
Yes.
But I wasn't expecting the show, like Jared mentioned, to go where it is going, or where it's gone so far. I thought it was going to be more. God, I don't even know what I was expecting to show to be about. I just wasn't expecting it to be like this. But it makes sense for where we have to get, Obi-Wan in the next 5 years, 10 years, whenever end of. Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, whatever that time frame is, 20 years or something like that. So I understand they have to do that kind of quickly to get to that Obi-Wan. It's so weird seeing the Obi-Wan, Ian McGregor Obi-Wan, the way he is now, because in every single prequel he was whip. He was not. I was gonna say whippersnapper. He was. What am I trying to say? I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but he has that, quip about him. He's confident in what he's doing. He knows what he is when it comes to being a Jedi. And in this, granted, I think a lot of it has to do with, what ended up going on with Anakin at the very end of Revenge of the Sith, that he is now so confused on what he has to be. It threw me off. Initially, like seeing an Obi-Wan like that, but I've grown to like that character, and I know this is leading up to something really big. Like the finale is going to be something really big between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. And by the way, there are spoilers. I've already said a spoiler for this, so just FYI, spoilers for the first 3 episodes of Obi-Wan. If you haven't seen them yet, you've been now warned. But yeah, I'm really digging it. Like Jared, you said, I really, really like a young Leia. I think she is. It was kind of annoying at first for like a few minutes of on screen. It was like, okay, is she going to be like this the entire time? But it really did grow on me. I do have some complaints about some of these chase scenes.
Before you get started, this is the cons page that I wrote chase scene and chase scene. It's on here twice. Thank you for agreeing with me.
I agree with that. The first episode where they came to Alderaan and they're all running like this through the woods, and I rolled my eyes. I was like, come on, man, like.
Sorry to interrupt this, I know, but go back even further. There's that shot of Leia by herself, and then Flea is standing there, and they have her completely surrounded. Flea, if you watch it, he does like this half pop. He does it twice.
I think I saw.
Starts to run, and then completely stops. And I'm just like, he made no attempt to catch her. And yeah, they're like running like idiots through the woods, and one blatantly runs right into a branch. It didn't move, it didn't swing.
Yeah, where she went.
So yeah, there were a couple scenes like that. Like there's one in this one, there's one in the second episode. There's some weird stuff with the third episode we'll get into, but overall, these 3 episodes have been, really did not know what to expect with them, but I really dug what they're doing with them so far. And that actually leads me into my next question, and that is, what do y'all think of the characters that have been introduced, the newer characters that have been introduced? The Inquisitors. I know nothing about the Inquisitors in Star Wars land myself, or Star Wars extended universe at all, minus what I know from the Fallen Order. What do you think of young Leia? And I guess, are those really the only... Now there's some newer-ish characters that I don't remember the names of, but what do y'all think of, the characters that have been introduced to us so far?
I'm really enjoying the Inquisitor characters, and like you said as well, I don't know a lot about the Inquisitors as a whole because we really haven't seen them a lot in the Star Wars media. And in the original trilogy, there was no Inquisitors. We just knew Vader and then Palpatine, right? And at the point of the prequels, there was no need for Inquisitors. So it's kind of a very niche sort of character group as of right now. The first time that I really recall seeing them was in the Fallen Order. So I don't remember which one was in the Fallen Order. It might have been like the fifth sister or whatever, but like I know they kind of have those names. So this is really the first time that I'm seeing them in a media type setting that I can think of. But I just enjoy the premise of those characters. Some of them, maybe they were evil Sith type characters from the get-go. Some of them are fallen Jedi that went to the dark side after the attack on the Jedi. So I really like just the characters as a whole. Like I said, I love young Leia. She's freaking hilarious. She's witty and snappy, and her little one-liners, they crack me up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a new character or an old character. I don't know if it's of any significance. I know that there was some talk on social media as well, but in the second episode where they had the old clone trooper beggar, there was people, I don't know if you guys watched, not Rebels, the other one.
Clone Wars?
Yeah, Clone Wars. I haven't watched all of it, but I've actually started rewatching it in my downtime just because they're such short episodes because of Obi Wan. But there was a lot of like theories like, is that Rex or any of the other main clone troopers that we got to know in Clone Wars? So I thought that was a really interesting concept that might not ever come back around, but just the fact that it kind of sparked that conversation kind of got me excited as well.
Yeah, I guess I'll address some new characters as well. Haja Estri, the Kumail's character in the second episode, the Fake Jedi.
Oh yeah.
Man, I love it. 100%. I love it because we were talking about earlier, the Star Wars universe is one of your favorite universes, and I was going to put a caveat on that when done correctly, right? Because otherwise it's just too ungrounded. So seeing this like kind of a scallywag con artist who's still kind of charismatic, he's overdoing it, so it's not like you almost think as a mother and child, like, how can you not tell? Like, you don't feel bad that they're getting scammed because you're like, it's so obvious a scam that you deserve to get scammed because you're so bad at this. So it makes him less of a harmful villain. And then when his little sidekick kid comes and goes, we had him, and he shows him, and he's like, oh, that's embarrassing. And he's just sitting there like twiddling with something, and he's like, well, let's go get him before, let's be the first. And so he's a scumbag, but he's also has a redemption arc because he knows who Obi Wan is. And he's like, he does the right thing in the end, and that's Han Solo, a smuggler who does the right thing in the end. So that's that. I love that heart of Star Wars. Like, that was a very Star Wars character for me.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, that makes sense.
This universe could be very cold. You've got mercenaries, you've got Empire, you've got bounty hunters. So you kind of have to be in it for yourself. There doesn't seem to be like a Star Wars health welfare system.
Yeah.
So you're going to inherently have a lot of scammers. And when given the opportunity to do the right thing, he did. And I was like, that's so cool. I am also going to say, as far as new characters, no, that's it. That's the one new character I like. I won't say anything else about another character that you guys are both fond about.
For me, Joel Edgerton. It's so weird. It's so crazy that he was in Revenge of the Sith for like a brief, 5-minute cameo, and said, hey, this is going to make you some money 17 years down the road, and you're not going to look any older than you did when that movie was made. I really like him. So far, I think Joel Edgerton is just a great actor. So I'm excited to see if he has a bigger role in this show as well. But he's kind of only in that first episode, I guess. We haven't really seen him in since, right?
Well, and I was going to say, he had that bit part in Revenge of the Sith and then went on to have his own successful career.
Yeah.
Like, he's gone on to be a phenomenal actor on his own. And when you go back, you're like, oh, yeah, Joel Edgerton. Like, so when he was brought into this episode, I loved it because it added layers to Uncle Owen that, you in the first one, he has to die, right? Like, in order for Luke's journey to begin, he has to die. Him and Beru getting assassinated is the inciting incident, right? And then at the end of Revenge of the Sith, he's just there to connect the dots, like here and here, So in this middle part, we get to see that he does genuinely care about Luke. He's not doing this as an assignment. Like Obi-Wan, who he knows has power and is able to protect Luke, he's even protecting Luke from Obi-Wan. And it showed that, like, there's layers to him. He's tough. When held to a lightsaber, he didn't flinch.
Yeah.
When Obi-Wan is like, thanks for doing that for me, and he's like, I didn't do it for you. And he just walked away. I was like, Uncle Owen, way to give that character some depth. And in that scene, real quick, I have to hand it to them on that homage. When Reva just sliced off that
that was so dirty. He's like, you have no rights here, just whack. I was like, oh, this is how we're going with this show.
He said hands are going first.
I didn't. Oh, you know what? I can see the homage to Luke now too. I didn't think about that during the episode. I was just like, she was just a really mean person. I was like, oh, geez, that's kind of a dick move, but yeah.
So Obi-Wan slicing off Buttface's arm in the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Gosh.
My friend doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Oh my goodness.
I really like Reva's character though, because to me that's kind of what, in my mind, like, she embodies what a Sith is. Even some of the other Inquisitors, after she orchestrated the kidnapping of Leia, and they're like, are you crazy? You can't kidnap a senator's daughter. Like, no, these Sith, there is no one above them. There is nobody that they fear. Like, that's how I view the Sith, and that is like the embodiment of her character. Like, no, I do what I have to do to whoever I need to do it to further my goal. And I'm not scared of anybody, and there's no line that I won't cross. There's nobody that's out of play. I really like that character, because to me that is what a Sith is.
I like Reva. The first 2 episodes, it was kind of annoying. Like, she was very, no, I have to do this, and she was kind of tantrumy if she didn't get her way a little bit, which, if it is going where I think it's going, she was one of the kids at the very beginning of the first episode, right? Speaking of which, that opening shot of Order
Amazing.
66, I did not see that coming. I was like, oh, they're going to start here? Oh, wow. The kid acting in that, like, when he goes up to the Jedi and says, we have to run, and no emotion whatsoever, really? I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Maybe better acting per se, but they're child actors. I can't, fault them for that. But that opening scene was so cool. I love handheld, kind of shaky cam stuff. Some of this was, I feel like they were just kind of moving it just because there wasn't any reason to it. But I love that opening shot. That was so good.
I thought it was a great opening scene. I didn't expect that at all.
No, I was like, oh, they're starting this off with a banger. But yeah, Reva totally is one of those. It has to be the kid that that is zoomed out on from the opening scene. That has to be her, I think, right?
I'm pretty sure it is. I think that was the whole purpose of that scene. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. What the thing for me was that I love going back. I love the Inquisitors. You guys were mentioning that. I forgot to add that I do also love them. The numbering system is confusing. I don't know how the third and whatever.
Yeah.
The fifth brother is like, that's my chair, and I'm like, but if she's the third sister, wouldn't she be higher up in the chain? And like, what happens to fourth, third, second brothers?
Star Wars.
Aren't they? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, but what I loved in the very first scene that introduces them, you see a typical Tatooine shot, right? And then you see the shadow of the ship flying. You see people look up, and then you see the shadow of the ship like loom over Tatooine, and then it lands, and it's just so alien and foreign looking in the sand pitscape. They walk in. Intimidating as all get out, and the Grand Inquisitor gives necessary exposition, right? Like, a Jedi reveals itself. And that's all stuff that could be cliche in terms of a villain, like just talking too much, but we as an audience needed to know that stuff about a Jedi. It helped build the tension in that scene. And then she, in contrast, is the necessary action, because she's just like, all right, she Leroy Jenkins it. She's like, enough talk. She throws that knife at that guy, and the Jedi is forced to do what the Grand Inquisitor just said he'd do, and that's stop the knife and reveal himself. So I love that contrast of necessary exposition, necessary action. And one quick note about the Inquisitors. The fifth brother that I just mentioned, did you guys know that that's Sung Kang?
That's
from
Han.
Fast and Furious? Okay, so but you know, in Fast and Furious, his name is fully Han Solo.
Oh, I haven't seen past, like, I've seen Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift, and one of the ones with was it The Rock? One of the ones where they jump off a bridge and parachute off the car.
Yeah. They never, yeah. One where they drive a car in space, hit an asteroid, causes all the bad guys. But no, so they just showed on the screen that his name is Han Han, and then Seoul, like the city in Korea, and then OH. So it's Han Solo. So we always got a Star Wars tie-in in Fast and the Furious, and now he's in Star Wars.
Oh wow, I didn't notice that. That's funny.
I didn't realize that was him. I was like, this guy looks familiar. And usually I IMDb everything, but I didn't IMDb that one. But that is a fun fact.
He's so chill and laid back as Han, you know, and then he's so intimidating and like intense. And
yeah, no joke, he is.
I love that reverb thing that they do with his voice to add that like bass. And when he corners the third sister in the alleyway and like pushes her up against the wall and gets in her face, I was like, this actor's got range. Man. Sung Kang is range.
You know,
props to him.
This is might have just been a me thing, but the first episode, the Jedi that they end up chasing, and he goes to Obi Wan. Do y'all know who that is?
The actor or the character?
No, the actor.
I know.
So, have y'all seen the movie Good Time or Uncut Gems?
I've seen Uncut Gems.
That is Benny Safdie. That is one of the directors of Uncut Gems.
Oh, it's one of the brothers?
Yeah, that's one of the brothers. Yeah, I was like, why does he look so familiar? I've seen him before. I was like, he was the brother in Good Time. He did Uncut. Oh man, such a crazy thing that such an indie director just has such a bit part in a Star Wars show. It's like, wow, they got some really interesting people to play these parts. But yeah, that was a cool little trivia. Jared, if you haven't seen Uncut Gems, you need to watch it. It is.
That one's on my list. I haven't seen it yet.
It's on Netflix, I think. Oh my gosh, it's such a tense movie. Adam Sandler is perfection in that movie.
I've heard it's one of his best roles.
Watch it when your life is going well, because if you've got problems in your life, that movie will amplify the pre-existing stress and anxiety you already have.
Yeah, no joke.
I was standing out, touching my chest. I was taking faces. I was like, "Oh my god, this guy!" It's wild.
But yeah, they also did Good Time with Robert Pattinson. That is also a fantastic movie. Like, y'all need to check that one out as well. But random side, aside, that kind of brings me up to my next question that I had is, what were some of y'all's favorites? And we can also discuss not so favorite standout moments in the series, in the 3 episodes so far.
I think we've already talked about, like, there hasn't been a lot that I have disliked the chase scenes. We already touched on that. There's been a lot that I've really enjoyed. Honestly, just the actual reveal of Vader and their first showdown was my favorite part of the show so far, and I think they did just such a good job, because this is not a character that we are unfamiliar with. Mm-hmm. We grew up on the original trilogy. We know the kind of character that Darth Vader is. And then we saw the prequels, and for everything that they are, whatever, but we saw Anakin's fall to the dark side. We know this character is not unknown to us, and just still the way that they can build suspense for his introduction, like the fact that they know they can do that for such a well-known, regulated already character, I thought it was phenomenal. Like I was still on the edge of my seat, and I was like, I know who this is. There are no surprises here, and it was still just it was a grand reveal. I loved it.
I have got to say that was the angriest I think I've ever seen Vader, which says something. It like he's dangerous and he's effective on screen, right? And I still think the Rogue One scene was his most vicious, right? Because he just slayed him, but there was something impersonal about it, where he's business. It's just Vader. It's like
it's just brutal.
Vader's a slice and dice machine. It's what he does, right? But in this one, you could feel the anger of him dragging these innocents because he knew, like, he's not about to encounter anyone. He's about to encounter somebody he owes. He's got to settle his score, and that made him all the more terrifying. Picking up Obi Wan and then just dropping him into the fire and then dragging him through it.
I was not. Oh my gosh! Yeah. Like now you know what it feels. I don't remember exactly what he said, but just that scene alone, I was like, "Holy cow!" They're like Darth Vader has always been that dark and foreboding presence, right? This is the first, but minus the Rogue One scene, which is really, really cool. This is the most brutal and animalistic I've seen Vader be in anything we've seen him in so far.
Yes.
And that being said, that still wasn't, in my own opinions, could be a hot take, that still wasn't the scariest moment of him in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
The Mirage.
That was really, really cool.
That was really
Jesus out of me, dude, because so he's, I just said bejesus Christ. Anyways, so he, they're on this they're on this terrain, which for me it's like I know that's north of LA, like I know that area. I'm like, but anyway, so they're walking, and then you just see off in the distance Anakin, and he turns around, and that was like midsummer horror movie, like terrifying, where it's like, what?
It wasn't Darth Vader, it was Anakin.
And it made him scary because you're like, well, is this going to keep happening? Is he going to like pop into Darth Vader's mind as Anakin and have these like, where Obi-Wan is necessarily having a conversation with the shadow part of his mind that is embodied by Anakin, like the guilt and the failure given shape in Anakin. And then later when Obi-Wan was running away from Vader and he was just there, it made me think again, like, is this real or is this a mirage again? Like, is he hallucinating?
Yeah.
Because he came out of nowhere.
Right. So that's
like he is not this quick moving silent figure, but he just appeared on him multiple times. I was like, oh my God.
Both of those times.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
for Obi-Wan to actually use a lightsaber made it still feel like, okay, maybe Obi-Wan doesn't believe that that's actually him. And he's like still running away from it, but he was not in lightsaber shape.
No,
no, he was not.
No.
Even before Vader called him out on it, I was like, ooh, time has not been good to him.
And that's another thing that's a standout moment for me too, is seeing Obi-Wan use his lightsaber again for the first time in 10 years? Mm-hmm. And this is something that he just does it. There isn't any big grand, let me pull out my lightsaber. He just pulls it out of necessity because he's scared. Like, it's more of a light for him than it is an actual weapon at this moment in time. And it's more of a reflex thing. But that entire scene was so crazy. Like, we've seen Vader choke people. I've never seen Vader just snap some dude's neck. Like, just boop. Like, I've never seen Vader just grab someone and just drag her behind him. And he's doing this, I think he knows that Obi-Wan is there, right? This is just to really push Obi-Wan's threads, or not, push his buttons, essentially, like saying, hey, I am here and there's nothing you can do about it. You have to show yourself, or I'm just gonna straight up kill everyone. And that was really like, wow, I have not seen that kind of Vader before.
And it was pure. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Well, it was such pure carnage because, like you said, he was pushing the buttons, and it kind of goes back to what Wes was talking about earlier, like this necessity that the Jedi will reveal themselves.
Mhm.
Except that's not what he does.
I was thinking the same
He
thing.
runs away. He's trying to get, like, for what it seems, like this isn't necessarily the Obi-Wan that we know. He's ready to let that whole village die.
I feel
Vader
like
sensed that he left on some sense, but Vader was trying to get Obi-Wan to, the Obi-Wan that he knows to that, like the Obi-Wan that he knows is going to come out and stop the death of all these people. He's going to stop this, but this isn't the Obi-Wan that he knows anymore. And Obi-Wan was ready to get out of there as soon as he could. And sorry to all these people, they're on their own.
Yeah, there were no empty threats in Vader's actions. Like when he says he's going to burn the village, he didn't say it, but like there was no doubt in Obi-Wan's mind that every one of the civilians will be slaughtered. Like unless Obi-Wan reveals himself, and he wasn't ready for the fight. But one thing I love, and this everything about Vader's actions in that scene except for one were perfect. But I want to say the anger echoes Kylo Ren. Because like seeing how angry Kylo Ren was with the Force, and then now seeing that midway Anakin Vader, like he's not quite original trilogy Vader.
Mm-hmm.
This is still like, he's 10 years in, so he's starting to really become Vader, but he's still got that Anakin anger. It echoed to me that Kylo Ren anger.
Oh,
you kind of saw it.
I can see that as well.
Yeah.
One thing.
There's some parallel.
One thing about the entire fight that was really cool up until a certain point when he just lets Obi-Wan go. Like he's just.
That's. I hated it so much.
Like, I kind of made it seem something. Oh well, he's just letting him go because he can catch back up to him. But at the same time, there's maybe a few feet of fire in front of him. It's not even taking up the entire quarry. It's just a small little area, and he just lets a robot slowly pick him up and just walk off the screen. Like, all right.
It's even worse than that, dude. He has Obi-Wan in the fire. Like he finally has him, and he's dragging him slowly through the fire. Then decides to put the fire out, let go of Obi-Wan, and tell the stormtroopers, "Bring him to me." Like, why? You already had him. Like, you could just keep dragging him with the Force toward you. Like, why did you do that?
Oh, I didn't even think of that. And then the fire starts back up again. Yeah.
There's somebody there, and she shoots that thing and it explodes. But I was just like, you had him.
So yeah, there were some things in this show that I was like, I kind of question why they did it that way, but at the same time, they have to do that movie magic stuff. They needed to not be caught right away, so we have a better payoff down the road. Another thing, what did y'all think about that stormtrooper that just straight up got cut in half? Like, that was like, oh.
When he fell into that whole laser fencing, I was like, dang. That was badass.
I love
that scene. Also, I had a gripe about, like, it's okay. It's two hills, right? Why couldn't you just walk across it? Why couldn't you just jump out of the redneck, alien redneck truck? Zach Braff. So that was kind of like, you could have done this a little bit better. I understand why you had to do this so we can introduce this character, but come on.
Dude, that whole scene, like, it kind of got me hot because they're out in the middle of nowhere. The stormtroopers are literally looking for a Jedi and a young girl, and then they're in the back of that truck, and
he says,
like,
Leia.
I would know what a Jedi looks like, and I wanted the stormtrooper to go, oh, well, they usually wear long flowing roby clothes, like almost exactly what you're wearing right now. Like, what? And then he's got a child with him. He calls her by the wrong name, and then they were like, he's like, it's a long story, and the stormtrooper goes, it's a long ride. And then, he says, like, oh, her mother died, and she reminds me of her mother. And then they're like, all right, this is our stop. It wasn't a long ride. Like, what the hell?
I
was like, okay.
Out of that scene, though, having Leia say, "Are you my father?" was like, oh, dude, that's kind of heavy, man. That's kind of heavy. Yeah. And you could see, like, you could see pain, and Obi-Wan loved Anakin and Padme so much, and it just hurts him so much. But that, like, oh wow, dang.
Well, even in his when he was speaking to the goof up, like after he called her by the wrong name, and he's speaking to, oh, that was her mother's name. Like, yeah, that part was a lie, but it feels like everything else he was saying was so truthful. Like, she reminds me so much of her mother. We lost her mother, and it's like in that moment, he's fixing this lie by speaking this truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was great. But I love how he even repositions himself, like in the chair, like make eye contact with her before he tells. Like they were sitting side by side when she asked the question.
Yeah.
He repositioned himself and tells her very sincerely, like, "I wish I could tell you that I was," because like the real truth is so dark.
Yeah, you don't want to know. Kind of like I'm shielding you from trauma, essentially.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think about? Speaking of family, what do you think about that reveal about Obi-Wan's brother? Do you think that's leading to anything?
I was gonna say that, like, that is the first time I've had a Jedi say or been. Oh God!
Talk about life before the Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of sounds like, and I know we're kind of going out of order at this point, but that scene really kind of made me feel like Obi-Wan didn't choose this life. Like he was just. I don't know. I don't know if that's actually correct or not, because in the end he says, I don't know if it's more of a brainwashing thing where he says, well, Jedi life, I grew to love my new family, but I don't remember. I remember snippets of my brother and snippets of my mom's like cloth or something like that. That was really. It didn't shine a good light on Jedi necessarily either, and that was something I'd never seen before in any of the movies. Like really that I can think of, where the Jedi, take young kids as well and strip them from their family life. So that was really interesting.
And I think, people more well versed in the Star Wars universe can probably speak to this better than I can, but I think that is a truth to it. They take Force sensitive individuals, and Anakin was an incredibly rare case. Most of these children are in a position where they're so young they don't really remember their families, or it's just small little fragments that they remember. These children, I don't know if it is a choice or not, but these children, all of these Jedi, all these younglings are taken from their families at such a young age when they start to display any sort of Force sensitivity.
What I imagine is it's like, it's similar to kind of how Shmi Skywalker was. Like you have a struggling family. Like I was saying earlier, there's not really like a welfare system in Star Wars universe. Right? So you've got a struggling family. The guy's working for quarter portions, barely can feed the family. You've got a child that if you had one less mouth to feed would be great. And then some weird cult shows up at your door and tells you one of your children is Force sensitive and they can guarantee them a better life. The parents are willing partners in that, right? Like it's not just the Force or the Jedi showing up and saying, hey, we're going to take your kid. Like it might be where a lot of these families are like, I can't afford to give you a good life. Like you're probably better off with this Jedi order. But ultimately the victim, like you guys are pointing out, is the kids don't ever get to make the choice for themselves, maybe, or most likely, like, with the exception of Anakin, who was too old for training.
And this, I'm going into complete. I'm going way off script here. And this isn't even, we're not even scripted for this episode. I read something the other day, and I know The Phantom Menace came out so long ago, so it's like, really, this is maybe an outdated theory or something. But it's talking about how, the Duel of the Fates battle between, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. And Obi-Wan wins that battle, but it's almost like the Jedi lost that battle because it's speaking of Duel of the Fates, and in one instance, this side won, and we know Obi-Wan takes on Anakin, all this that transpires as we know it. But on the other hand, it mentions how Qui-Gon is kind of one of these last Jedi, which they don't denounce attachments, which all of these other Jedi need. And Anakin being so much older, that's probably the type of master that he needed to lead him in that other path. He already had an attachment to his mother. He grows this attachment with Padme. He needed a master to tell him these attachments are okay, but everybody, Obi Wan's under this whole
Everyone
order
else.
of attachments are wrong, and this kind of forces Anakin down this path because of the attachments. Where if he had a master who told him these attachments are okay, he could have gone in that complete opposite direction.
I never thought of
Because
that.
Qui-Gon was like a rebel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And on
He was a different breed of Jedi. He was like in that gray area where it's not just black or white. There are some of these teachings, yes, but some of our principles, it's not right. And that's what Anakin did.
He refused a seat on the council, right?
Yeah.
Like
Did he?
He's a Jedi Knight. He refused a seat on the council.
He didn't want the role of master.
He refused some of their ideologies, and that's why he was at that level, but he wasn't. He was a rebel in a sense.
Yeah.
And I want to piggyback on what Jared said because I'd already written this down in my, the recap. This is one of the first thing I wrote that I loved is in episode 1 they have that recap, right, of all the.
Oh, that's
the
such a good
prequel
recap
stuff.
too.
It's a great recap. Now the very last thing is Yoda telling Obi-Wan about the Force ghosting stuff and how he can communicate with the Master. Weird thing to throw in at the end if we're not going to come back to that, because that really doesn't have anything to do with Anakin and Obi-Wan. So do you think Qui-Gon has a cameo? And after what Jared just said, I need this to happen now. I'm
gonna go back to what you were talking about earlier. The Mirage in the desert. I thought actually at first that was Qui-Gon because he'd been trying for 10 years to communicate with Qui-Gon. And I thought because of that whole reveal, like that whole flashback, that I thought he was finally seeing some glimpse of Qui-Gon before we saw Hayden Christensen. I am anticipating that at some point because why else would they bring that in?
Why would...
Yeah. And he's called out, right? A few times, like, Master, I need your guidance.
Yes, he's like, wow, more than ever.
The third episode, or is it the second? No, it's the third episode, right? It's the second episode where he's trying to get Qui-Gon to talk to him again. And I was going to bring that up too because there's no way they're not going to have Liam Neeson reprise his role as Qui-Gon sometime the next, there's only 6 or 7 episodes, right?
There's 6, so we have 3 more episodes, but I did read that they already greenlit and are starting production for a season 2.
Really? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I hope.
Which I need because
yes,
it's going by too fast.
Yeah, it really is.
These limited series are too short, but I want Qui-Gon back. I want to see Qui-Gon talk to Obi-Wan again because he only had one movie, but he was such a big part of Obi-Wan's life that there's no way they can't bring him back in some way. I just hope.
And like Jared, like how Jared just pointed out, his death may have been that catalyst. Like how that one Duke got assassinated, and then you have World War One, and then by proxy World War II. And it's like he didn't cause it, but his death caused this chain of events. Like Qui-Gon might be the Duke Ferdinand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he dies. Now Anakin doesn't get trained. Now Anakin goes to the dark side. Now the Empire. Now all this other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, whoa, like
that's I'm excited.
It blew my mind.
I think he's gonna be probably the season finale. No, he's gonna be the one. Anakin and Obi-Wan are gonna be in a fight, and Anakin's winning the entire time. And Obi-Wan's about to pass out. He hears Liam's voice. Like, you can do this, remember, or some profound wording. And that's going to cause Obi-Wan to pick up his lightsaber. And we're going to go back to the gymnastics-looking sword fighting from the prequels instead of the methodical of the original. And it's going to also have that kind of force, not the more aggressive fighting from the sequels. It's all going to tie into one thing.
Dude, you're totally right. Qui-Gon, him talking is going to be the thing that reignites Obi-Wan. Like that's got to be, because right now he's lost his way. He's lost his way with the Force.
Yeah.
He's in and this is something that but like what I love is that Obi-Wan what we might have all thought as kids is that Obi-Wan is on Tatooine, hopeful and ready for the moment, like ready for the opportunity to fight. But the Obi-Wan that we're getting is an Obi-Wan that gave up hope and has given into despair.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated that about Luke in The Last Jedi, because Luke is the new hope. He should never give up that hope, right? But Obi-Wan, it's more understandable for him because he's directly responsible for his Padawan going wrong and like all this falling of the Jedi Order. Like, it makes more sense if he would give up hope. But a conversation between him and Qui-Gon should be the thing that reignite him.
Oh, man.
And I love, there was a visual shot, you know, when they're cutting up that sand stegosaurus and he's packaging it, which I want to come back to toward the end of the podcast. I want to come back to this, what they're doing there.
How long has that been there?
They did and how long before that meat goes bad? We're in the desert sun. You have an hour at best before that meat spoils, and you got please.
There's no refrigeration unit.
Yeah, and they're just hacking into the same 10 stegosaurus for days. Anyway, so multiple days, and but there's a shot, so it shows him wrapping up that fake sand stegosaurus, and then it cuts from underneath the grill, so the grill is like bars. Mm-hmm. And you see Obi-Wan on the other side of the bars, so it was like he's in prison. And I just love that little visual motif. I was like, it's right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I love exploring that journey with him. You know, this guy who was once a powerful thing, or powerful person in this order, and now he's essentially a nobody. And that journey, like, I think I'm so on board for that journey at the heart of everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
So,
I'm really hopeful for the rest of this series. We still have 3 episodes left. I assume we'll do another episode. What we can do, and you know, we're not. If we want to keep talking, we all can. I'm just kind of thinking. Actually, I'll save that for after we stop recording. I did want to bring up something that I thought was really interesting, but I don't remember it anymore. So never mind.
Sorry, I one thing I'm still on your question, by the way, of what have we liked so far, and I think we got into the Obi Wan and Darth Vader stuff because there's so much there.
Yeah.
But we did talk trash on the chase, and I do have both chase scenes in here twice on the cons, but I do have a lot of positive things to say. The reason I hated the first chase is because the guys were clumsy, and the reason I hated the second chase is because it was unmotivated. Like, Leia, he just rescued you from your prison cell, and now you see him on a hologram. Wouldn't the guy who rescued you be wanted by the people who kidnapped you? Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Oh, you're the real kidnapper." I'm like, "He just freed you. How can you be the real kidnapper?" So everything that happens afterward was just illogical and frustrating, and I'm like, just let her get captured again. But what I will say is I felt like the production design was budgeted on the first episode because it's like Tatooine, we've already seen it. But the production design on that second episode, my God.
I was going to mention
and
that.
The chasing was a perfect opportunity to like have Steadicam following through the crowds, shots of the rooftops, the different light sources, the different signs, the lighting, the smoke in the alleyway, like the wet floors, all the way the light reflected on the stormtroopers. Mm-hmm. I loved all of that, man. And then, like, when she turns a corner and there's like these weird alien fish like in tanks and everything, it was such a cool way to take in like the Star Wars world and all of it. Every inch of that world, Daiyu, the planet, felt so real. Yeah, you know, like it was no wasted space on that. And the last thing I'll say about that chase was there was a really cool crane shot of Sun King, the 5th brother. I hope he's the 5th brother, y'all. Twitter, please don't eviscerate me. But he's walking up and he's in formation, and there's like a row of stormtroopers behind him. And his camera like comes up and he goes over them. But like in the background, you see all these street signs and smoke and haze, and I was just like, this world feels so real. Like, you guys nailed it.
And
like, that whole second episode.
That is what I was going to mention as well. We've seen Tatooine how many times at this point? We know what Tatooine looks like. Like, I'm tired of the same planet over and over again. Alderaan, we didn't really see much of that in the originals, and
we didn't see a lot of it.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot of it, and what we did saw, it kind of was just like a little boop, it's exploded. Oh well. So it was really cool seeing Alderaan and a more
beautiful planet.
Yeah, more
like just a little bit, because all we know of Alderaan is, like you said, it's a planet that got blown up.
Yeah.
But the fact that they took the time to
make that
establish this as a planet contrary to what we already know of it.
I hope they do more stuff outside the normal planets we're used to seeing in Star Wars. Like, I really dug that second world they were on. Like Wes, you were saying, it was such a unique looking world. It was such a felt lived in world, and I want to see more of that in these upcoming episodes. I don't know if we are, but I would love to see something like more of that kind of stuff in Star Wars in general.
You have like the thrift market, these people selling their wares. You have a kid that's there scamming people for Haja.
Like the underside, the seedy side of Star Wars. Yeah,
the pink-haired girl that was selling gems to Obi-Wan.
Such a good line.
That's Ewan McGregor's daughter.
Is that really? No way.
That's Ewan McGregor's daughter. And she even tells him, I used to be someone's daughter, and puts like a thing in his pocket. And I was like, that's tight. But the homeless clone trooper, veteran, there was a wide array of things. It's like there's scammers, there's the fish market, there's drug dealers, there's disabled veterans, and there's still such a, with all the lights and all the buildings, you knew that there's somebody has money on this planet. It's not all shacks. So it gave it a real societal feel.
It's no casino planet, though. I will say that.
But I do think that it. I do think that just like you all have said, it just shows another element of the Star Wars universe. And if Obi Wan had not been there, that's probably a world where the Empire does not really frequent. It's just a planet. It's like the Outer Rims, drug dealers, smugglers. It's a planet that is of no significance to anybody important.
And they even said when Obi-Wan gets there, I love how the episode started, because you see the spaceship coming in from space, and then it's like jettisoning through the clouds. Like, first you're looking at it, and then as it passes the camera, it's going down, and you can see all the lights like on the city.
It goes through the clouds,
it's coming in hot, like literally and figuratively. That episode is off to the races, and then Obi-Wan asked this guy, like, "Hey, I'm trying to find this ship. And, I lost the signal here." And the guy says something to him about, like, there are no signals on this planet. Like, everything's blocked off.
I want their privacy here.
Yeah. So it's just like an anything goes kind of planet,
a unique
which makes me like Haja even more, that he still had that redeemable quality to him at the end, where he's still like, all right, do the right thing at this time.
Do you think we'll see Kumail again in some of these later episodes?
My guess would be season 2.
Season 2, you think?
Because just like how in Mandalorian they introduce you to a bunch of cool characters, and then
we don't really see them.
Like, and then you move on from them. Because there's a big story here. But I would love to. I'd love to see him. I've been a fan of Kumail before he started taking Mexican supplements.
I do have one gripe with that second episode. It is also with the chase scene. Why does Reva? She's like 2 miles away. Think she can parkour over roofs to get to Obi-Wan, and when she gets there, she's already late anyway. So I just thought that was kind of a silly. I mean, she did some cool stuff. It was a little overkill, especially when she did a turn on that pole to just kind of do a jump. It was like, it's a little much.
That is visually very cool, but
it made no sense. Like, you're gonna be late to this fight. Why even bother? Like, you can't jump over that many roofs that quickly.
Like, as cool as it was to see her like brooding on that rooftop, I was also like, how long has she just been holding that post on that rooftop, staring into the night sky?
Y'all continue.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh my goodness.
What I love too about Haja, I'll just go on about Haja this time here, but what I love was after doing all that Force stuff, Obi-Wan gets in, and he's like, "What do you know of the Force?" And knowing Obi-Wan, you think Obi-Wan's about to show him up.
I thought that so much.
And instead, just blaster. He just pulls a blaster kick style and holds him at gunpoint. It's like, you don't even know what I know about the Force. Like, guys. I thought he was gonna like strip him of his magnets or something like that, but he did, but at gunpoint.
Yeah, he basically just robbing him. I mean, it's like, I'm gonna hold you up at gunpoint. You don't know anything about the Force. I'm not gonna tell you. I thought he was gonna like, you know, kind of push him or like kind of float something up real quick. It's like, nah, you just straight up just pointing a gun.
Yeah. And that craftiness of Obi-Wan, I am enjoying seeing, like how he did the Walter White with the kidnappers.
Mm-hmm.
Like he made that mess explode, and then created that distraction, but then also used the smoke bomb to like blow it up, and then put his mask on before jumping out. And how efficient he was with the blasters against those stormtroopers in the third episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like seeing how capable he is without the Force and without the lightsaber.
And I think it kind of, like he's so precise with the blaster. And I like how, kind of going back to what Jason said earlier, like he doesn't really pull out the lightsaber until like it's a last resort as Vader. It's almost like this sense of, it's not only a last resort, but this sense of comfort. Like there was like real fear in him there, and he finally like, I gotta pull this out, but this is the tool that I need in this situation.
And like to jump on that, there was the moment where I felt like the lightsaber should have been pulled, and it didn't happen there. Right, like when he runs up and Vader's encountering him on his own, and Vader has his sword already drawn, or lightsaber already drawn. You think right there's the moment where he majestically pulls it out and is ready to stand off on him. But to y'all's point, he doesn't, chooses to run away, so that when he pulls it out, you're almost like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's not ready yet, so that's a good character part right there.
Yeah,
like a good character detail is that he does pull it out of desperation, not out of majesty.
Yeah,
I love that. The colors for the red and blue lightsaber. I love this shot, that wide shot of just, you can see Obi-Wan on the ground and just Vader's just, you know, lumbering toward him, and just him running away, just kind of, you know, flailing Obi-Wan's lightsaber while Darth Vader is steady and calm and is just methodical. I love that scene so much.
Yes, he's steadfast.
And I think with that also, that scene shows him waiting so long to pull it. Like obviously we see like the physical lightsaber skills he's lacking there. Like his combat is not there. But I think it really shows like how 5 years of almost just being completely disconnected from the Force has taken on him. Because, you know, it doesn't seem like with like any Force-sensitive individuals, it's something that you can just turn on or off. Like that's why they have this training, and I think it's something that you continuously have to hone. He hasn't used it for 5 years, probably for well reason, because you know, Force-sensitive individuals can sense the Force. He can't use it for his own safety and well-being. But not using it for 5 years, he's weak in a sense. It would be like you not touching a barbell and then trying to, you know, 5 years later trying to go squat 405. Like it ain't gonna happen, right? So it shows he physically is just not in this place that he used to be, because he hasn't practiced. He's been cut off from it for so long.
Yeah, but that's also, I think, his choice, though, right? I mean, he purposely disconnects himself from the Force to be a recluse, right? Or do you think he's just so guilt-ridden that he doesn't want to deal with it anymore?
I think it's partially by choice and partially by necessity. Like you can see, they can sense like the other, right? And not just like, you know, Obi-Wan and Vader, they have this connection. But I think just these Force-sensitive individuals, they can sense the Force in others. Jedi are being hunted. Take away the guilt-ridden part of it. He is such a strong Jedi. I'm sure he has to cut it off, or they're going to sense him and come to Tatooine. It's not just about the guilt of Anakin's fall to the dark side. He has to cut this off so others that are hunting his kind cannot sense him and where he's at.
I didn't think of that. That makes sense. Yeah.
That's an excellent point. Which makes me frustrated, because he went through all those measures to keep himself safe and secure, but his dwelling is the least secure place on the freaking
What
planet
is that little?
because the Jawa sneaks up on him, right? Like he's sitting there eating his weird goop, which again, he takes a slice of sand steak, takes it to his home, and then he eats goop. Like he cooks it and it's goop. Like I don't understand what he's doing with that steak. But he's sitting there, he's eating it, and the Jawa sneaks up on him. And not only is the Jawa snuck up on him, but the Jawas also previously snuck into his home and stolen
his parts and stole it back to him.
Right? So the Jawa is able to enter your house at will, and then by the end of the episode, Bail Organa also breaks into his house and is standing there in his living room. And I'm like, Obi-Wan, your security is lacking, my guy. Like, you cut yourself off from the force. Your lightsaber's buried in the desert. Like, your people are just walking in and out of your house. Like, you're going to come home to an explosion one day.
You
Like,
need a better alarm system. Where's ADT? Come on. Get ADT up in there.
Yeah, it's me.
You need Ring or something, Obi-Wan. What is that little... So is that little robot thing like a scanner? Is that what that is?
I don't know if it's like a motion sensor type thing, because when he came home, when Belle was there, it turned red, which I think indicated someone's here or someone has gone through here. That's how I interpreted it. I don't know.
It's kind of weird. But yeah, he needs better security.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't even know what that thing does.
He's just been there this entire time. He just looks at it every time he comes home. He's like, well,
it was here when I bought the house.
Or the Jawas might have hardwired it a different way, you know? I don't. Yeah, I was just like, come on, man, get your fortress in order here. But yeah.
Oh man.
But
well, I will let's say this did go a little bit longer than initially planned. Of course, I think that is how all these podcasts go at this point. But yeah, closing thoughts. I will. Closing thoughts, at least on my part here, is where do y'all think this is gonna go? Like we know where this eventually goes because no one dies in this series, right? We know Obi-Wan's not gonna die anytime soon, so. To me, that kind of lessens any kind of stakes that might be happening in the next few episodes. Everyone we know is going to live to later on in their years. But where do you think this is going to go? What are you hoping to see out of these last 3 episodes? Just to whatever your mind, wants to think of. Where do y'all think this is going to go, or what do you want to see this go to?
I think there's going to be another obviously big confrontation between Anakin and Obi-Wan. I assume Leia's going to get back home to Alderaan. While I agree that these major characters are not going to die, I wonder, like, we have a lot of these new Inquisitors.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't in the original trilogy. Like, is something going to happen there? The way of the Sith is, master or apprentice kills the master. It's just kind of this cycle with the Sith. Obviously, there's multiple Inquisitors, multiple Sith right now, but at some point they don't make it to A New Hope and so on. As far as we know, is something going to happen to them there? Vader. Because in Fallen Order, Vader kills the 5th sister, or whichever Inquisitor was there. Spoilers, sorry everybody. So, and then Reva killed the 3rd, or the Grand Inquisitor, or whatever. Like, there's a lot of inner Sith killing going on. So I think that still kind of opens the door to the Sith trying to annihilate each other for power, especially because the 3rd brother and 5th sister both want that seat right under Vader, so I think there might be some inner Sith dealings going on top of things. I'm interested to see that, because that's always an interesting concept. Like, the Jedi wanted to see each other grow and thrive, in their own way, whereas the Sith, they want power and they're ready to take each other out to get that. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. My thought is that. Oh, by the way, the Grand Inquisitor, well, I didn't watch this, so I can't take credit for this, but I've read that the Grand Inquisitor actually dies in Rebels.
Oh.
So some of the fans are like, "What happened here?" Because he can't really be dead because he doesn't die until Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
So either there's a swerve coming with that, or who we see in Rebels isn't who we think. I don't know, but anyway, because I was gonna say when you said nobody dies, I was like, oh, well, the Grand Inquisitor died, and I was like, ah, he might not be dead. Um,
I didn't
but
even
what I'm
know about
hoping
Rebels myself, so
I
I was.
am. I'm gonna. Sorry, I am rewatching Clone Wars, but then I want to watch Rebels, and then I also
Oh.
want to watch Bad Batch. And there's a lot of the animated shows that I want to see because I know a lot of these characters, like Cad Bane and stuff. There are a lot of these characters in the animated series, so I do want to watch those. I didn't know the Grand Inquisitor was in there, so I'm interested eventually to get to that point as well. I also, I'm curious about the Jedi that Obi Wan referenced in the little hideout, and
Quinlan.
the girl mentioned how he helps out, and apparently he's still alive. Are we going to see more Jedi, especially now that there's a season 2? We know because of the Fallen Order, there's a Jedi. We know Ahsoka's out there. Like, is there going to be tie-ins with more surviving Jedi?
Ooh.
so we've technically already seen Quinlan in a movie.
Have we?
So you know how anybody that appears on frame in any Star Wars anything becomes a character with a whole backstory on Wikipedia. So Quinlan was actually in episode 1. He's like sitting down at a table when young Anakin is like walking by him, and he's sitting down at a table with like 2 other guys, and he's got like I think a hood on or anything, but he's got like a white or yellow stripe on his face.
That.
And then I think over the 20 plus years that's been on screen, people have, oh, that's this guy. So it started off in Legends, and then there's Dark Horse comics with him on there, and I think he's in Rebels. He's in one of the animated shows.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's like a pretty canon dude that's out there. But his thing is he's a undercover Jedi. So they use him for undercover purposes, and he's got an ability called either psychometry or psychometry, probably, where he can touch an object and sense through the Force who else has touched this, or he can tell things through that.
Oh.
So he has this ability to track individuals. So that's why I think he's useful as an undercover Jedi to go around and try to find other Jedi, because he can go to where a Jedi may have been, touch the door and sense something and get memories, access their memories through that psychometry ability he has. So interesting cat. We're definitely going to see something from him in the future, whether it's in this or. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's too unique a power to not be seen again. But yeah, where I'm hoping this goes is little Leia like ends up falling off of the scaffolding or something to her end, and Obi-Wan's like, dang it, not again, I failed. And then there's like a swirly portal that opens up, and then Doctor Strange and America Chavez come through there and is like, need a redo, need a do-over, and then he's like, it's like, yes, and then Leia's there, and she's like, this is one of the incursions I was talking about, and then they jump in the portal with her. And now we got
so Leia was always old. It was always
the biggest, yeah.
It was always Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, it was always Carrie Fisher. I'm really two lines that drove me crazy in the second episode was one where she's like, I want to float, lift me. I was like, it's so annoying. And then the second one where Obi-Wan's like, how old are you? I'm like, you were there at her birth. What are you talking about? You know exactly how old she is.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, he was there at the birth.
Yeah, I was like, what is it? What?
You should know, Obi-Wan. You're basically his uncle, or their uncles.
Yeah, and if you were like, how old are you again? In like a joking way, but he just seemed so genuinely confused. Like, how old are you? And I was like, what? Did you forget who that is?
Yeah. Oh man, I didn't think about that.
Sorry, no. I just want to add one quick note before anything, because this is important, and I can't believe I've goofed and left this alone.
Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to give props to the overall sound design, like just the like I was saying earlier, Sun Kang's Inquisitor, how they added that gravel to his voice. I think the Inquisitor even had some voice work. The scene, keep going back to this, the scene where Obi-Wan is hiding from Vader was extra effective because
there's no music.
Go back. There's not really music.
Yeah.
It's Vader's footsteps and his breathing.
Yes.
And the choice that audio choice was phenomenal, but the audio design, those breaths sounded extra harsh. Like that first breath he makes really just like like it was just so and then when Reva McEntire sliced off that girl's hand, her lightsaber, you don't see it on screen come out. You hear it. And the sudden abruptness of that girl being like, you don't have any authority here. We don't have to you are. Oh god, it's coming. And then so we see the little red tip come down. You didn't need to see it happen. You heard it happen. So I've just been so impressed with the abruptness of all the sound design, the effective decisions to not have music, when to have music. But one thing I was thinking is I was like, and the score is so good. And I was like, it sucks that they couldn't get John Williams because he retired after the sequel trilogy, but whoever this is that's doing the soundtrack is nailing it. It almost sounds like it belongs in the original score. I said, so whoever this is doing a great job. Guess what? I looked it up. John Williams did retire from making Star Wars music, but when he heard that they were doing an Obi Wan series, he called Kathleen Kennedy and begged to do one more because Obi Wan never got a theme of his own.
No way.
So when I read that, I went into Spotify and I looked it up, and it is Obi Wan theme, John Williams.
Really?
I put my headphones on, I shut the door, I turned off all the lights, I listened to it. I'm getting chills right now talking about it, dude. I'm telling you, it's like a lost piece of a puzzle, man. It fits so perfectly, and it's John Williams' score.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that now.
Yes, man. To have one more John Williams,
dude, that is. I had no idea he came back for
so
this.
I didn't want that to go unnoticed. Like John Williams did the Obi-Wan theme, man.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah, it has hints and notes of the original. It almost gets to like familiar motifs, but it's its own thing, and it starts off unsure of itself and like glimmering off in the distance, and then it kind of comes in all the emotions, and in the middle of it, it's heroic again, and I'm just like,
ooh, that is really no, that is really cool. I'm super happy he's back for that because I noticed that the sound design, specifically the chase scene with Darth Vader and Obi Wan, specifically when he's just looking, hearing the sound of the saber, no music, and just hearing. Oh, I don't know how to do his Darth Vader sounds.
Screams and footsteps
is so good.
Yeah,
I don't really know what I want to end with the season again because we know what kind of happens in New Hope, so those stakes aren't really there. I think I would like to see more stuff about the Inquisitors. I feel like Reva, I think she's gonna go above her head. She's gonna disobey Darth Vader, and she's gonna die. I think she's too headstrong to not die in this season or the next season, but I think she's going down a path that she thinks she's above everyone else. And I even think she feels like she is above Darth Vader in some ways.
Or she might try and make a move on Obi Wan, and Vader's like he's not going to die by.
I think something like that is going to happen.
Kills her like because of it.
So to give you my serious answer, where I hope this ends, what you just pointed out, I hope that we get a reason for why Reva McEntire is so determined to give Obi-Wan, and at least those dots get connected in a way that is fitting, right? Like, because all the other stuff, right? Like, we know these characters are going to live and whatever. I just hope that they can really land the reason why she's so determined and give that character some, because she's very intimidating, she's very relentless, but I need some humanity brought out of her to really stick the landing, in my opinion.
I think she blames someone for the Order 66 because, you know, when they're in that kind of back room in that workshop and she sees the Jedi symbol, like we see a shot of her just kind of go, ugh, and then walk out. So I think there's something going on with that. And I think she is trying to find Obi-Wan because I think she is blaming him for something that he had no part of.
Yeah.
Part of directly or indirectly, I mean, she knows Anakin is Vader. She knows Anakin turned down the Jedi Order her whole life. completely took a 180 because of it. If that whole path started because of Obi Wan's failings, then there could be a lot of blame there.
We'll have to see. We got 3 more
thinking
episodes.
I'm thinking it ties back to the younglings scene that we opened with, because it was like just how
It was
you
a
said,
little
I
on the
stuck that weird
nose, just a little bit.
a little. It's just, and even going back the second time watching, I was like, nothing got settled for me then. Like it didn't, it didn't lead to obviously to something. So there might be a part of a bigger scene that we'll circle back to.
But yeah, well, that was an hour and a half, y'all. We did it again. Another fantastic episode. I was super stoked that Wes, we had you on this show today, man. Is
first guest star.
First special guest. Props to you, dude. With that, y'all, I think what we'll do is we'll do the next 3 in a single chunk as well. So we'll wait the 3 weeks. If y'all want, Jared, if you want to, Wes, if you want to come back for those, let us know. But yeah, y'all, this was a fun talk.
I think that's a good idea. Kind of bring it back around the second half of the season, wrap it up, have one nice clean up, follow through.
But with that, y'all, again, we are Jcub3d. Thank you so much. Like if you want to, let us know what you want to see in the next episode. That's not Star Wars. And
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks Wes for joining us.
I'm a big fan, so it was an honor and my pleasure to be a part of this. I had a great time.
Dude,
Our honor.
I've been excited. I've been looking forward to this all week, man. So this was such a pleasure as well. It's also just good to see your face, dude. It's been a while.
Yeah. I was in the middle of it. I was like, that was my buddy. It was great. So, yeah.
All right. Well, y'all take it easy, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
All right,